So, what's going on with impeachment? Recently, former ambassador to Ukraine, Masha Yovanovitch, testified that she was concerned when she read the transcript of a call between Donnie Trump and Prime Minister Volodymyr Zelensky regarding the United States' sale of javelins for the protection of Crimea from Vlad Putin, something that Lieutenant Colonel Alex Vindman was also troubled by. If you're just catching up at this point, that sentence makes no sense. I was trying to explain impeachment issues to my girlfriend recently, and I had to stop before I even really started because even though the issue is simple, there's a lot of detail that's easy to miss if you just read an article about it in the most recent paper. So, this is my personal view of the impeachment process as the facts appear so far, colored by my own biases, my own personal background. For example, I'm part Polish, so I really don't like Russia, and it's informed by my own media consumption. All the opinions are my own. If I can keep this up, I'll make video updates as new facts come out, and maybe some new videos with deep dives about specific aspects of this ongoing scandal. So, let's begin at the beginning. Yes, this background begins years ago, but I swear I'll bring it up to this decade in 30 seconds. Russia has wanted this piece of land, called Crimea, since at least 1783. The reasons for this are complicated, and it may not be what I was told in high school history. The trouble was, that's not Russia's land. That's Ukraine's land. So, in 2014, Russia stole the land and illegally annexed it. Since then, Ukrainians have protested this theft, and fighting, like with tanks, continues to this day, killing over 13,000 people in that time. See, it wasn't that hard. The United States promised Ukraine defensive military aid, but the Obama administration didn't want to give them offensive weapons. Fast forward to 2018. The United States, under Donnie Trump, delivers Javelin anti-tank missiles, something the Obama administration would not provide to Ukraine. When 2019 comes around, military aid to Ukraine is delayed, then delayed again. People start getting anxious because money for these missiles is tied to the current year, and the budget ends on September 30th. If Ukraine doesn't get these missiles before then, they won't get them at all. It's about this time that we hear about a whistleblower from the intelligence community who is raising concerns about what we now know is a call between Donnie Trump and the then-new Prime Minister of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky. The aid to Ukraine is finally released, but the whistleblower complaint was still being withheld. The acting director of national intelligence, Joey Maguire, does not want to scotch his chances of becoming a real director of national intelligence someday, so he tries to make the whistleblower complaint not his problem. The complaint comes out anyway. The whistleblower says that he was told that there was a call between Volodymyr Zelensky and Donnie Trump in which Donnie conditioned military aid on favors that would benefit Donnie personally and not the United States. A paraphrased transcript was classified as being more secret than it should have been to keep people from stumbling across this call. Shortly after the complaint came out, the White House released this paraphrased transcript. Pretty much everything the whistleblower said was spot on, and the general consensus was that it was very bad for Donnie. In particular, it had this exchange. Zelensky, we are almost ready to buy more javelins from the United States for defense purposes. Donnie, I would like you to do us a favor, though. And then a little later, Donnie, they say CrowdStrike, I guess you have one of your wealthy people. The server, they say, Ukraine has it. And then a little later, Donnie, the other thing, there's a lot of talk about Biden's son, that Biden stopped the prosecution, and a lot of people want to find out about that, so whatever you can do with the Attorney General would be great. This is bad. Bribery is mentioned in the United States Constitution as a cause for impeachment, and this describes a bribe. A bribe is often also described as a quid pro quo, which is Latin for this for that. And here we have a quid, buy more javelins, a quo, do us a favor, and a pro, though. After this, a few people tried to spin the exchange. Acting Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney famously said, "We do that all the time." What he was implying is that the United States sometimes makes aid conditional on things like cleaning up human rights records. The problem is that what Donnie was asking for has no practical benefit for the United States and instead has a great value for Donnie Trump personally. There are two favors mentioned. I'll touch on both briefly. First, Donnie asks about a server. In 2016, Russia hacked the Democratic National Committee's email. This was confirmed by several U.S. intelligence agencies, U.S. criminal investigators, foreign intelligence agencies, and outside analysts. Some people don't like this answer, so they came up with a nutso conspiracy theory. The conspiracy theory goes like this. The DNC supposedly hacked itself in order to portray itself as the victim. That part isn't that crazy. false flags are pretty common in politics, though I can't think of an example where a group actually attacked itself in the process. After the DNC supposedly attacked itself, they brought in an outside company called CrowdStrike to investigate. The conspiracy claims that because CrowdStrike's CEO once lived in Ukraine, all the DNC's email must be on a single server that the CEO sent to Ukraine. In reality, the DNC's email was probably hosted on the cloud, so there's not really a concept of the server. Even apart from that, I work in the computing field, and I can tell you that you almost never need hands-on to a server. I can fix, diagnose, and analyze most everything remotely. I rarely need to send someone out to fondle a computer. The concept that anyone blocked an investigation by hiding a server is silly. The second favor that Donnie mentions is that Joe Biden, Democratic presidential candidate, did a corruption. This is based on the idea that Joey's son Hunter got a job in Ukraine because of criminal nepotism. Everyone who's looked at this seems to agree that this is just regular old non-criminal nepotism. How do you think George Bush Jr. got to be president? Do you really think Chelsea Clinton's writing alone made her books bestsellers? Would anyone listen to Bobby Kennedy Jr. blather about anti-vax nonsense if his last name were Johnson? Does this mean that all those people belong in jail? Neither of those favors materially helps the U.S. in any way, but both of them help Donnie Trump personally. Again, that's what a bribe is. A personal favor, dirt on political rivals, or an excuse for a political ally, in exchange for an official act. So, that brings us up to date on the substance. At first, this was about a whistleblower who claimed that he was told that there was a call where Donnie Trump asked for a bribe from a foreign leader. Now, it's no longer a whistleblower claiming that. It's the White House that confirms that they participated in a call where Donnie Trump asked a foreign leader to give him a personal favor in exchange for the official act of providing military aid to another country. But that's not all. The call also talks about how these bribes were going through Donnie's friend, Rudy Giuliani, and the Attorney General, Billy Barr. This shows that the discussions were not going through the official process, which would be to ask Ukraine Ambassador Masha Yovanovitch to make the requests. Masha wasn't going along with Donnie's plan, so Donnie had Rudy say that she was corrupt and had to be removed. Donnie then brought in Gordo Sondland, an ambassador to a completely different place, which is not Ukraine, to tell Ukraine about the bribes he wanted. Texts between Gordo and Billy Taylor, a U.S. diplomat assigned to Ukraine, show that Gordo was asked if the United States was conditioning military aid on Donnie's request for investigations. Gordo responded by saying that he had spoken to Donnie, and then a statement that was clearly written by a lawyer. Gordo Sondland would later testify that he couldn't remember ever hearing that there was a quid pro quo for military aid. Then, after Billy Taylor and Masha Yovanovitch testified that there was, Gordo changed his testimony to say that there was a quid pro quo, but it wasn't for Donnie's personal benefit. Then there was this guy, Lieutenant Colonel Alex Vindman, who also listened to the call. He said that there was a bunch of stuff left off the paraphrased transcript. Alex testified that the Ukrainian Prime Minister mentioned Burisma by name, which means that he had spoken to Donnie or Donnie's men before, because he knew that Donnie wanted to look into that specific company that was linked to the son of Joey Biden, so Donnie could personally benefit from saying that his opponent was under investigation. And that about catches us up to 2019, November 6.